Hi everyone, welcome back to the Massive Fan podcast. I apologize in advance for the delayed video this week. I have been traveling a lot, so I've not had the chance to sit down and record this until it's Tuesday now. So you're probably going to get this video on Thursday or Friday, depending on how quick I am with editing it. But I missed you guys. I am really enjoying putting these videos together, seeing the comments that come in, hearing what other people think about this as well. I am working on, I know it's a slow process to building up viewership, building up a community around this, and I'm here for the long run. So this is actually a lot of fun for me as well, so I don't see myself stopping anytime soon. So wherever you are in your journey with me, if you're new, hi, nice to meet you, I'm Sun. If you have come back to this video after watching one of the older ones, welcome back. I'm glad you're enjoying the content so far. A couple of things I just want to kind of address before I jump into this video itself. First of all, I apologize for the 43-minute monster that was the last episode. It wasn't my plan to ever make the videos that long, but I think there was a lot to cover about Li Ming and Uncle Jim, and honestly there was no part of that video I feel like I could have edited out, and I did kind of really consider it as I was editing. But I mean, I'm going by some of the comments I've gotten. I think people enjoyed the video on the whole, and so I'm glad about that. I'm glad it was received well, but in the interest of keeping these videos in a shorter, more consumable format, I am going to try and, when I think a video is going to be longer than usual, split it up into two parts. And that's actually what I'm going to be doing today with Alan and Wen's video. What you're going to get is, the video is going to be in two parts. The first part, and which you're going to watch today, is going to be about the timeline of Wen and Alan's relationships and my thoughts on their characters and how they approach the relationship. So I will cover the timeline from when they met all the way up until they broke up. And I'll go into this a little bit in the video itself, but time is a very kind of fluid concept in Moonlight Chicken. It's handled very interestingly. So I think there's a lot of value in making a video like this, so that if anyone missed all of the implications of time passing, then this video is around to help. The second video, which I will release after this, maybe within a few days or a week after this, will be about my thoughts on not just the breakup itself, but also Wen and Alan continuing to live together, Wen continuing to share a bed with Alan, why I kind of think that might be. Then also my thoughts on how Alan responded to finding out about Wen and Jim and everything that followed, right? So that video sounds like it would be the juicier one, and maybe it is, but I honestly think this video is just as important. And if you don't have a timeline in place to view the relationship through, the second part of it just makes no sense whatsoever. So without further ado, let's get started. So I think time in Moonlight Chicken, like I said, it's not something that's explicitly talked about, but the passage of time is shown in each episode very naturally, either through festivals or through decorations or through dialogues. So there is, I think in episode 1 you have the Moon Festival. In episode 2 they show a little bit of Halloween when one goes to decorate the storefront with bats and the orange background. Then in episode 3 you have Loy Krathong. In episode 4 it's Christmas. So you see kind of like the passage of time through the episodes in different formats, but it's never really put out to you that, hey, this is December, this is November, this is now 2023. It's never laid out in that fashion. So I think it's really easy to miss that aspect of Moonlight Chicken unless someone who's watched it before has told you, or you've really paid attention to all of the details as you're watching it, right? So given that, I think the director was actually very intentional about calling out the timelines for a few things, one of which was Alan and Wen's relationship and the progression of it, right? And the other was one meeting Jim and when that happened in his own timeline. So as I put this timeline together for you, it's all going to kind of come together and make a lot of sense if it's not something you're already aware of. So I think there are a lot of things that can be implied or assumed about one just on the basis of the timeline of his relationship with Alan, as well as some of the things he has told Uncle Jim. To start with, I'll take the dialogues itself, which is he tells Uncle Jim, when Uncle Jim asks him, you know, how did you end up in Pattaya? Why did you leave Bangkok? We learn that, okay, one isn't originally from Pattaya. He's obviously moved here. And he mentions that he moved for work. He saw a job vacancy and decided to take a chance and move, right? He wasn't happy in Bangkok. It felt too crowded, too busy, and so he wanted a change of pace. Now, from the dialogue alone, we know that one was at a working age when he decided to move to Pattaya. He was done with his degree. And so that still puts him in his 20s. We don't know yet whether it's early or just a few years before. That gets clearer when you add the lens of Alan and Wen's relationship to this, right? You see that they're in the same apartment for 5 years, and obviously this apartment is in Pattaya. So one has been in Pattaya for at least 5 years. Another thing you see in Wen and Alan's relationship is that they celebrate their first year anniversary on May 2017, right? In May 2017, which means that they got together in May 2016. And if they got together in May 2016, then chances are they probably met a few months before that, or, you know, maybe a little bit earlier than that, which puts one in Pattaya from at least beginning of 2016, which, if you take it as fact that Wen is in his late 20s in the show, he's say 27, 28 when he meets Jim and when the events of Moonlight Chicken kind of play out, in which case 6-7 years before that he was 21, 22. And so you kind of, as you piece that together, you realize he was probably really young when he decided to move from Bangkok to Pattaya to live on his own. He was probably a little lost, trying to find a place for himself, trying to find a place he fit. These are some of my assumptions about one's character, but I feel like from the things he talks about in the show, from the kind of compassion he shows to Li Ming and his situation, I feel like some part of one kind of saw himself in Li Ming. I feel like the divorce of his parents probably impacted him in a very real way, and his mom getting married very soon afterwards. From the conversation he has with his stepdad, it sounds like that happened fairly quickly. And if that is the case, that must also have really impacted his life and how he kind of reacted to the situations around him, to the people around him. I think the read I get from Wen is that he's someone who has gotten used to adapting to different situations, whether that situation is something he's truly happy about or not, right? He finds a way to make it work for him, and he finds a way to convince himself that, yeah, this is fine, I'm good here, I'm happy here, and I can live with this. Right. I think that is something that's probably very core to one well before he comes to Pattaya, well before he enters into a relationship with Alan. And so my theory is that when he meets Alan early 2016, soon after he comes to Pattaya, he starts, he sees this nice guy who, treats him really well, who's really besotted with him, and he wants to make him happy. He wants to be this person that Alan will love. And in that process, I think he loses himself a little bit. I think it happens slowly, bit by bit. It must be something like, he talks about it, but the first date, he didn't want to eat. He's never eaten beef before. He didn't really like it when he tried it, but it was something Alan enjoyed. It was something Alan went out of the way to introduce him to. And so he kind of said, what's the big deal? Let me just go along with this. And I think there was a lot of let's just go along with this for Wen in that relationship, especially early on. And I don't think he did this out of malice or from a place of resentment. I think initially it probably was genuinely him just saying, it's not a big deal for me, but it is a big deal for him, so let me try. But the longer you're in a relationship, the more these small things start adding up. And the older you get, the more you learn about yourselves, your wants, your needs, your likes, your dislikes. And I think there were just a few of these things that came up that one was just no longer able to live with that pretense, right? And in the first few years of his relationship with Alan, he probably never said anything about it. He kept everything to himself. He dealt with it and went with the flow. And so when he did start voicing that, hey, I don't want to do this, I don't want to get up early, I want you to be at home more, all of these things started coming up, it probably blindsided Alan. So I don't think there's any one person at fault there. I think for one, taking things as it comes, going with the flow came very naturally to him. It's how he's probably gotten through his life, how he's been able to cope with all of the changes that were thrown at him, how he was able to stay positive through all of that change and kind of find happiness in it. And yet here he realizes that he's not able to keep up that pretense. He's no longer able to go along with what Alan wants just to make him happy, because it was making one really unhappy. And on the flip side, Alan probably for a few years never really thought anything was wrong. He probably thought life was great, their relationship was great, one was this perfect individual who he fell in love with, who was exactly everything he was looking for. So maybe he didn't realize that that this person that he had fallen in love with was going along with everything he wanted and wasn't voicing anything different because he didn't want to rock the boat. I think it probably a little naivete from Alan over there, but the thought never occurred to him that maybe one wanted something different. I think he got used to one agreeing, and then it was kind of like, of course he's going to want everything I want. And so one not wanting the same thing anymore probably really took him by surprise. The next major kind of timeline point that we see in Wen and Alan's relationship is Feb 2022, when they have that large, really blowout argument in the apartment. Now this timing again is really telling, because Feb 2022, when they have this argument, it's clear that they've been broken up for some time, right? With, I would say, at least a few months or so, right? Because one talks about having told him that they're not together anymore, that they can't keep doing this. And Alan responds to that with, you gave me such a shitty excuse that you fell out of love with me. What is that even supposed to mean? So that tells you that they've had this conversation before. This is not the first time. So going off of that, Feb 2022, they've been broken up for at least a few months. Now, but from the Polaroids on the calendar, you see that they have a Polaroid for their 5th year anniversary, which would have been in May 2021, right? So between May 2021 and Feb 2022, sometime in that time gap, Wen has had enough. He has started voicing that he no longer wants to be in the relationship. He has tried breaking up with Alan. He has broken up with Alan, and yet, around Feb 2022, we find out that hey, they're still kind of sometimes having sex, because Alan is not willing to let go, and Wen is giving in, going along with Alan's wants and needs, etc. Up until it reaches this boiling point in February when Wen says, I can't do this anymore, right? We are just hurting each other. We shouldn't be doing this anymore. And it all culminates to Wen telling Alan that I slept with you out of pity, right? Which is a really harsh thing to hear and a really harsh thing to have said. But I think at that point, I'll talk about this a little more in my next video, but I think at that point, Wen is just trying to say anything he can to get Alan to realize he no longer wants to be in that relationship. He's trying to hurt Alan. He's trying to get Alan to realize that, hey, I'm not in love with you anymore. This is not who you want to be with, because I am mean right now. And so that happens in Feb 2022. So if we say that between May 2021 and Feb 2022, they kind of broke up at some point, I would say that the breakup probably happened in October, November of that year, given that it had been a solid amount of time before Feb probably that they had been broken up, for Wen to have again built that much resentment and for Alan to have that much emotion about the fact that they were broken up. I think it had been some time that the breakup had happened, but they had still been living together and that toxicity had started building, right? Just going off this timeline though, right? If they broke up around October, November 2021, and Wen meets Jim on 10 September 2022, because that is the date on the can of beer, the night that he and Jim meet in Moonlight Chicken. So if Alan and Wen broke up 2021 October and Jim and Wen met early September 2022, it's almost been an entire year that Wen and Alan have been broken up. Probably like Wen had detached himself from that relationship well before the point he actually broke up with Alan. And so Wen has been completely emotionally detached from Alan for well over a year at that point. So I think when he meets Uncle Jim, there's no sense of lingering feelings left for Alan, anything beyond maybe guilt, right? I think he does feel guilty about having broken up with Alan, having blindsided him. He does feel guilty about having given Alan some kind of hope. And so when he does meet Jim and he takes that chance and he kind of glimpses the chance for a future that he didn't think he could have, that he wasn't able to have with Alan. He could kind of see that warmth and that sense of belonging with Uncle Jim. I think he wanted to just hold it with both hands and keep it. Right, so that is my timeline. So we have the full breadth of the timeline, which is 2016 all the way up until 2022 and 2023 when Wen and Jim finally are together. And I hope for all those of you who hadn't immediately noticed these things about the timeline, that this video was super helpful and that you found some value in it. For those of you who want to know more about what I thought about Wen, Alan, their breakup, the toxicity, all of that kind of stuff, please stay tuned for my next video. It will be out soon. I hope you guys have a great week. And I would love to hear from you guys in the comments. Let me know what you thought. Share your thoughts on Wen, Alan. Are you team Wen? Are you team Alan? Are you on both teams? You know, I'd love to hear from all of you. Do hit a like on the video if you enjoyed it, and please share it on socials. I am on X. I meant to talk about this in my previous video. I am on X now. I have an account for this podcast. My handle is sunstories7. So please do give me a follow. Jump on there, chat with me at any time. I'd love to hear from all of you. I love discourse. I love talking about discourse. And right now I'm in my Moonlight Chicken era. So I'll see you guys there. This is Sun signing off.